ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, July 19th. The Drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We're going to open up the phone lines and text lines for you this hour. We text always at 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. The toll-free number is 877-420-8255. Coming up today on the program, we're going to bring in Rodney Kasey. He is the new Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. He's taken over, and they're reworking the position. Jason Corrier leaving not that long ago, so Rodney will come in and assume a lot of those duties, and he'll be doing a lot of different other things as well. So we're going to talk to him, kind of find out a little bit more about him as well. You might not see his name, but you will definitely see his handiwork here across the board this point forward. So looking forward to talking to him. He's going to bring already just talking to him and meeting him the first time, a lot of energy to the program. So I'm looking forward to talking to him, and we get him in here in the next few minutes. And I understand he's going to be with Chuck McGill. Chuck McGill is going – I think Chuck is here to basically make sure that I don't ask him anything that I shouldn't be asking. You know, Chuck's just going to be sitting there staring at me, giving me the evil eye. Like, don't ask about the non-conference schedule, Paul. You're not going to get that answer. Don't ask. You know, don't ask those questions. So I'm looking forward to both of those guys. I haven't seen Chuck in a while, and looking forward to bringing Rodney in here. So we're going to get him here in the next few minutes. We also will get your phone calls and texts in, of course. We got baseball coming up tonight. It is the All-Star game. You excited? All-Star game coming up tonight. 7 o'clock is going to be our airtime here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. First pitch about 8 o'clock. Been a long time since this one's been played at Dodger Stadium, so I'm excited about that. And it's got an L.A. flavor to it. You got Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers. He's the starting pitcher for the National League, and so he should be. And I'll tell you what, the National League, I think, is going to win this one tonight. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say the National League wins this one tonight. If you don't think so, well, there are plenty of betting apps you can profit off of this, unlike years past. So just go ahead and just put it down now. National League wins tonight. Ohtani's on the mound for the Angels. He's going to be hitting. He's going to be on the leadoff spot for the American League. So a little California feel to this All-Star game. How about the home run derby last night? By the way, before we get into the home run derby, we'll do that. But there could be another home run derby tonight. So here's the deal. If the All-Star game is tied after 9 innings, we're just going to go to a home run derby. It's sort of like the shootout in the National Hockey League here. Of course, we don't have shootouts in, say, regular season. Well, we do in regular season. We have like overtime, then the shootout. Then in the playoffs, you don't have the shootout at all. But for an all-star game, I think that's pretty neat. But it's going to be a home run derby. So each manager is going to – this is really cool. I actually like this. Each manager is going to be allowed to select 3 hitters from his team. Each hitter gets 3 swings. Whichever team has the highest total after 3 rounds wins the All-Star game. Who's pitching? Do we know that? How's the mound being handled on this? I mean, can you throw in a ringer? So you got someone. Because here's the thing: in the shootout in hockey, your goaltender's out there, so you got your best guy. You got your goaltender out there trying to stop. So wouldn't you want to put your best reliever out there try to strike them out? I don't know. Could this thing, what if this thing is tied after 3 rounds? What if it's tied after 3 rounds? Are we going to go to sudden death home run? What are we going to do here? Actually, I hope this thing goes into the home run derby. I really think that would be cool to see. I don't think it's going to happen tonight. I mean, look, defense rules the day here. Team that has the best pitching and best defense is going to win this thing. So, again, it's going to be tonight, 7 o'clock. We've got it for you right here, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. By the way, the home run derby, Juan Soto won the home run derby last night. Defeated Julio Rodriguez in the championship round. So Soto gets $1 million reward, and that's just lunch money for him because the Nationals recently offered Soto a 15-year, $440 million. That's $440 million contract extension, and he said no. Yeah, he said no. Oh, by the way, you remember yesterday when we said it wasn't fair that Albert Pujols was taking on Kyle Schwarber? We meant it wasn't fair for Schwarber to be facing off against Pujols. That's what we meant. How about that? That was pretty good. So, Juan Soto won the home run derby last night. Congratulations to him. Some good stuff. Home run derby is always fun. Hopefully we get a home run derby tonight and the All-Star game. We've got it for you. It's coming up tonight. We do it at 7 o'clock. First pitch a little bit after 8 o'clock right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So we're going to talk more to you later on. We'll open those phone lines and text lines up for you. We always take your texts, guest or not. We do the text at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. When we continue, we're going to welcome our guest in studio. He is the new athletic director for digital strategy and brand management. That's a mouthful. Rodney Kasey joins us on the other side of the break. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Do you like the show and you want to make your own? Well, let me tell you about Anchor. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And now you can even add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless for what you can create. Now, Anchor is going to distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast. No minimum listenership needed. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Tuesday, July 19th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I want to welcome to the program now. He is taking over. Well, it's really hard to describe because he's not actually taking over for Jason Corrier. He is coming in, taking some of those duties, but it's a new position now at Marshall University. It is the Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. Rodney Kasey is with us. Rodney, congratulations. Thanks for coming in. And that's a mouthful of a job title, but it seems to fit because you come in, you're not necessarily taking over the job of Jason. You're going to do a lot of his job, but you're going to be doing some different things as well. And I think Herd fans should be excited for what's to come here in the years.
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Glad to be in Huntington. Glad to be at Marshall. Cannot wait to do all the exciting things that we're about to do here, and under great leadership. And so, like you said, I'm not necessarily taking over completely Jason's position, but a lot of what he did I will be doing, and that entails. But with the way that college athletics is moving, I think that we're going to be doing some things to enhance our brand and enhance like what we do on social platforms and also on the web and impress. So our media relations will kind of stay the same. It's just all about how we do those initiatives and reach those goals that we have.
So give me an example of some of the things that might be changing as far as managing the brand, because you've got so many social media platforms And it's real simple just to copy and paste, right?
Yeah.
You see it all the time in brands mismanaged all across the country.
Yeah.
Copy and paste into their Twitter feed, their Instagram feed,
Yeah.
or their multiple Twitter feeds.
Yeah.
And that's not you.
No. Well, marketing's a very easy thing, and it's really just us and how we tell our stories. So obviously we could go the very cookie cutter route and kind of do everything across the platforms all the same, but all of our coaches, all of our players, they're all different, and so we just want to make sure that we're telling the story of each individual program and also our entire athletic department as a whole, with the fan and the student athlete experience in mind. And so I think that's the way we're gonna navigate it and not do the cookie cutter option. I think it's going to be about telling those individual stories of those coaches and those players, and how we want the story of Marshall to be told.
How would you go about that? Say, just use an example, because you already know how energetic she is. Ari Agnes for volleyball,
Yeah.
and then someone like John Mercer for tennis, who doesn't have the same volume level as Ari.
Yeah.
They're two different personalities.
Yeah.
Great personalities, both of them, but Ari has like a little extra bass,
Yeah.
and maybe John has a little treble.
Yeah. Well, essentially, so we actually met with Ari today, and essentially, so she has her own goals and initiatives that she has for her team. And so when we're creatively thinking about how we want to push their brand for women's volleyball, that's kind of the way we will do it. We'll specialize in making sure we highlight the specific athletes that we're trying to highlight, and also the academic goals that they have, and kind of like their team goals and their team mantras and the things and the points of emphasis that they want to emphasize for their season. That's kind of like whatever their culture is in their program. That's the kind of the way we want to do it. So as we design things for them, those elements will be inside of those pieces of work. So if they have a certain tagline that they're going to use for the season, those are the taglines we will use in their graphics and in their posts. So that's kind of the way we'll make that happen.
And at the same time, you got to make sure that everything is cohesive
Yes.
and fits. So
Absolutely.
you can't go rogue and do something if it doesn't fit the overall brand of Marshall.
Absolutely. And so we, Chuck and the team have already done such a great job of having setting up marketing meetings. And so all of our coaches kind of know what the guidelines are going to be, but also Chuck has also already heard and talked to most of them about what their vision is for their specific teams. And so our goal is, and my goal is just to make sure that we carry those things out to the betterment of the student athlete and to the betterment of our program, so to make sure that our fans get a good experience with the team and they feel well connected with them.
This isn't just going to be social media posts. We're not talking just, okay, here's a Facebook post, here's a Twitter post. This goes beyond this.
Yes.
This is not a quick graphic. Here you go. All right, I've done a great job.
Yeah.
You're looking to actually get into the meat and potatoes of what makes each department special and why her fans should care and really get involved.
Yeah, and so all of our coaches recruit differently. Obviously, by sport, you have to recruit what goes for your coach, but also what goes for your team and the culture of your team. And so I think we want to make sure that we are letting our herd fans know where our players are coming from, what they're doing here, what their degrees are going to be in, and what we expect them to do when they leave Marshall, and also what they anticipate them doing while they're here, because that's what a lot of people care about as well. So I think what we have going with Chuck has already started, with him and Sydney and the team has already started, and what Christian wants to try to continue to do. I think those are the things that we're going to try to harp on the most, and also make sure our coaches have the vision within that.
Speaking of Christian, energetic, personality, with no limit. He's very charismatic, and he has a vision. What was it about his vision that you loved and you wanted to work with him? And then what are you bringing in that maybe Marshall didn't think of or he didn't think of that really excited them?
Well, I used to be a coach, and so I'm very big on high energy people who are hands and feet. I'm really big on people wanting to be the hands and feet of the things that they do, and Christian's that kind of guy. Christian he's a very supportive leader, and he also is a very He challenges you to go out there and do the things, even things that you may not think you can do. He looks at you in the face and he tells you can do them, and he wants you to go do them. And so that part right there really energized me when I met him. But I think they already kind of had a little bit of that going. When I met Chuck was that way for me, and he was that kind of person that kind of hey, we're going to go do this and we're going to push the limits. And we went and shot a soccer game in Columbus, Ohio that many people may not have cared about at other schools, but it was at the forefront of the mind and Chuck and the marketing team. And so I think Chris Grassi really appreciated that, and that's kind of how this whole thing got started. But I think something that I bring that's different to the table is I'm like a Swiss Army knife. I've done a lot of different things between game day operations and sport media and like journalism, things of that nature right there. And so I think I'm just young and I have a willingness to want to go work hard and I love student athletes. And so me going into work every day is not a job to me. It's an opportunity. I've already connected with some of our athletes on campus already. And so that's the goal for me, is that I'm here for the student. I'm not really here for Rodney.
Rodney Kasey is here. He is the Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. And talk a little bit about how you're going to, of course, you're going to take advantage of the new media, digital media, and platforms we maybe even haven't even heard of yet. So that's going to be your purview. But at the same time, you have traditional media.
Yeah.
And that's still a big part of coverage. Radio, obviously, you're doing this today, television, newspaper. So how do you attack all of that types of different media? Because people aren't reading as much.
Right.
We've talked about this. People aren't reading as much, but
Right.
I think the written word is still important. People are getting a lot of their content on demand, but you still have traditional media that's out there. And so how do you balance all of that and trying to take advantage of all these opportunities and maybe not shortchange one at the same time, not overload?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not a one-size-fit-all type of thing. We definitely want to make sure that we have a lot of people who are going to be older and they listen to their content or read their content differently than people who are younger. People who are younger might want 15-second content. People who are older may want reads, and they want full-on paragraphs, and they have press releases. And so I think that our job is that when we identify things that we're going to do, we look at all of the platforms that need those services. And it's not just hey, let's make a graphic because that's what we're going to do today. It's there's going to be a graphic, and there's going to be a press release, and there's going to be potentially a photo or video, and we make sure that we are really more so not catering, but more so servicing everything that we need. And that's a big part of telling the story. The more platforms we touch, the more people we touch, and that is more people that we have our athletes in front of. So that's the big idea for me.
Yeah, and the challenge for you also is you're the brand manager here for Marshall. But at the same time, you're the brand manager of all these players through Marshall here. So how challenging is that job? Because football is not basketball. Basketball is not women's volleyball.
Right.
Women's volleyball is not softball.
Yeah.
Softball is not baseball. Baseball is not soccer. Yeah. And you have so many different individuals here. And how do you keep the brand focus across the team platforms, the individuals, the sports? Because you're serving a lot of people here. So you've got basically a corporation, it feels like.
Yeah. So my way of doing things is I feel like you serve people with people, and so we're blessed and fortunate enough that we have coaches who are liaisons that they kind of help keep us connected with the player or keep us connected with the program and the things that they are doing, like whether it's community service or just a simple practice or a team lift or whatever. And then also we have our team. Chuck's in charge of all external, and so he makes sure that the things that are coming up that we know about and that we are on top of those things before they even happen. So it's more serving people with people, and so it's not really going to be me managing anything. It's more like I just might be the point person for some certain things, and we'll continue to right the ship the way that it is, and we'll do it as a team. So that's the good part about it.
And of course, on top of this, as we mentioned, you're going to be assuming some of the duties that Jason Corrier. Game day, game notes, game stories, coaches interviews, things like that. So how does all of that blend together in this new age?
Well, I know we're gonna find out very soon, but I think we have some ideas that we've kind of thrown off the wall of how we want to manage that system and kind of like what we're going to do for the box, and then how we're going to do press conferences and things of that nature right there. And I think we have some ideas creatively of how we want to make those processes more efficient. Especially when it comes to press conferences and things of that nature. Right there, because of COVID, we went to kind of like we more so streamlined everything to Zoom, and we're continuing to talk about how that's going to look this year. But the whole idea of it is that we want to make sure that the people who need access to the right people, that they have that access, and that we have our coaches and players in the faces of the people that need to hear them. So,
are you going to try to talk to are you going to maybe try to be a little proactive, hoping that, okay, hey, well, you say Tavion Kinsey as example, this maybe, hey, Tavion, I think you need to do, radio. Hey, I think you need to talk to, TV a little bit more. Are you going to try to actively try to find those opportunities, or do you just feel those opportunities will come organically?
Most of it is opportunities that we kind of identify as a group. Just as we sit down and we think about specific teams, specific coaches, specific players, we try our best to make sure that we have their best interest at heart, but then also making sure that we put them in the right spaces. So if we do have a certain athlete like Tavion that he's due for whatever we have him as a breakout year or whatever, we're going to make sure that we have him in the right spaces, that we get his name out there, because obviously it's gonna do well for him as he tries to make his professional career, and but also his endeavors here at Marshall and getting his degree. Those are the most important things.
My guest is Rodney Kasey. He has taken the role of Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. We're going to take a quick break, come back. Want to learn a little bit more about Rodney and where he came from and why he took the job at Marshall, a little bit more detail, other than the fact that you get to work with Chuck McGill, and why wouldn't you want to do that? Exactly. We will talk to Rodney a little bit more when we continue on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Tuesday, July 19th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Paul Swann, your host. I want to welcome back to the studio. He is the Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. We really got to shorten that title for future radio interviews. Rodney Kasey is with us, and you have an interesting path to Huntington. It came to a point where you were here so much that basically your wife said, why don't you just apply for a job and save us some gas money? It's the short story, but I'll let you expand on it a little bit more. Yeah,
so, it dates back. I guess you can date it back to last year when I first met one of our videographers, Stanley Williams, and I met him. We were both working a commencement for another school. And I connected with him, and him and I started just trying to connect on some things. And then I was actually shooting a game that I was at, this prior school I was working at with Bluefield University. We played Marshall in December. And just through some connectivity, I was able to reach out and talk to Stan about potentially, joining Marshall and like doing some things creatively with them. And then Sydney and Chuck kind of found Stan on campus, and Stan kind of started working with them. But then Stan eventually started asking me to come along and kind of tag along with some ideas and tasks they were doing. And I'm really big on service, and I knew Stan wanted some help and some creative leeway. So I kind of started helping out with some things that they were doing, and I didn't never think that an opportunity would actually come about. But it was I was up here. I was helping out with I shot the soccer game in Columbus, the Spring League Championship game, and then came back for the 1-year anniversary of the national championship and helped shoot the docuseries on that. That was documented and also cut by Jake Griffith. He did a great job with that. And then all of a sudden, I look up and I'm sitting in a room and I'm wearing a suit applying for a job. So never thought it would actually happen that way. Never even thought that I would end up in Huntington. My dad always talked about going further and further up in West Virginia, but it was just one of those things. It was a good opportunity, and I found the opportunity to serve, and I could find a way up to serve with the right people, and that's kind of what landed me here. So
I'm going to ask you, what makes Marshall the right place, and what makes the people the right fit, the right people?
It's a very high energy. It's a very high energy atmosphere that they have right now. But more importantly for me is when I came up for the soccer shoot. Obviously, no intention of what I was going to be doing with the team or with Chuck or Stan or Arson O'Connor, who was shooting photos. it was more about the way they served athletes. I remember talking about the fact that it was a spring league game that it was Marshall versus Bowling Green in Columbus Crew Stadium, and like there was only going to be a select many of people there because it's a spring league game. It's really just in preparation for the guys getting ready for the summer and getting ready for their preseason for the actual season. And Chuck brings an entire creative team to Columbus, Ohio, and it meant the world to the team. And just seeing those players' faces when they walked off of the bus and getting ready for the game, seeing their faces when they went into the locker room, and then after the game, just seeing their faces, it made me feel like, hey, this is what I do. I love serving student athletes. My biggest joy is the student athlete experience. And so when I saw that, and then I saw that Marshall was taking the initiative to make that happen, I really wanted to be a part of it. So that's kind of what got me here.
What have been your impressions of the community outside of Huntington so far? Just the area itself. What do you know, and what have you seen?
Well, I've gained weight. That's for sure.
Okay.
There's a lot of restaurants that and a lot of good people who have those restaurants. So I've encountered some people, and I've been kind of interacting with different people from here and there that's in the community, and everybody's been so welcoming. People have kind of read up on me, which sometimes isn't so fun because it's like, hey, you did this, and I was like, oh, okay, I did do that, but it's been great. It's been a welcoming experience, and I think my wife and my child will love the area. I think they'll love being here. We have so many great staff people at Marshall, and I cannot wait for us to really be here and put our feet in the ground and really be able to walk and be with the people of Marshall.
My guest is Rodney Kasey, new position of sorts, Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. And you've fallen in love with the area so far, and there's a lot of things that you're going to be doing that's probably going to be different for Herd fans, at the same time exciting, to say the least. And you've got so many different platforms as well, and you get the opportunity to kick everything off going into a new league as well. How exciting is that? Because this is really, it's fresh for everyone. This isn't, okay, we did it this way before, so we got to do it this way. No, you're in a new league, and it feels like there's new opportunity.
I just think that the Sun Belt itself is a growing conference, great schools within that conference. Me just being the sports person that I am, I've always watched App State and Coastal, and I've kind of learned a lot of like what's been happening around the league. And obviously I watched the bowl game last year that Marshall played in football, and so having the opportunity to be able to play them again is going to be an amazing thing for our school and our campus to do that at home. And so it's going to be a great league for all of our sports. I think that the Sun Belt Conference has so many great institutions, and then also with all of their athletic programs, I think there's going to be some great days ahead for Marshall athletics, but I think it's going to be some great days ahead for the Sun Belt Conference itself. And so I'm extremely happy to kind of come in on this new wave of athletics in this new conference. So.
You mentioned earlier you've got the coaching background, so I'm sure you're a big hit already with the coaches, knowing that, okay, hey, we finally have one of our own in here. We finally have someone behind lines here. We can, we've got one of our, how have they been receptive to you? Because you speak coach. And it's very difficult for a lot of people because it's very hard to speak coach if you're not a coach.
Well, I try to keep the main thing, and so my job here is to help build the brand of our basketball team and our football team and our softball team and soccer. And so that's what I'll do. I'll keep the main thing. I did get to go to men's basketball practice yesterday, and I'll go to women's basketball sometime this week. And so I did get to meet Coach D'Antoni and Coach Kemper. So I did get to meet those guys, and I'm excited for them and what they have for their programs, and excited for their coaches and their student athletes. And so I think the idea that I used to be a coach is great for me, because now I really understand what I'm shooting if I'm shooting a game, and then what I'm statting if I'm statting a game. So I think those things right there help me in that regard. But then also I can understand the frustrations from a media relations standpoint between wins and losses and players playing well and not. So I'll know exactly when not to talk to our coaches and about what. So I that's kind of having that feel for the game for me.
Because you've got to basically, okay, coach, I know you don't want to, but you have to go talk to the media. You got to go talk to Swann. You got to go talk to Luke Kasey now. And when you lose, you don't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
And still, you got to.
Right. And that's the beauty of the opening statement, is because they get to kind of get what they want off their chest first before anybody has to ask them any questions. But I think it'll be a great working relationship. I think that we have some tremendous coaches at our school across the board. And so I think it'll be really great for me to kind of, see the ins and outs of their days and kind of help document their life and also be in support of them as they, as we all try to navigate media relations, conference media relations and national media relations stuff. So it'll be some good times ahead.
You got to hit the ground running too, because Media Day is coming up real soon for Sunbelt. So you got to be excited there to be. I know it's a terrible trip going down to Louisiana. It's got to be terrible for you.
Yeah, I'm super bummed out that they sent us to the Superdome.
Yeah,
that is
terrible.
But I think it'll be a great trip for Coach Huff and our athletes, and I think they'll get to go down there and we'll get to communicate and fellowship with some of the other schools that are in our conference, and really let the athletes kind of get that feeling in, before fall camp kicks off. And I saw some of the guys on the field today working out, and so I know the guys are working hard and they're ready for camp to start. But I think it'd also be a good time for all of us to kind of go down there and document our experience at our first Sunbelt Media Day. And so I think Chuck and I are for sure excited about that, and Christian Spears will be down there. So I think it'll be a really great time for all of us for Marshall Athletics.
Where are you guys going to go eat? That's probably the big question, right?
I'll be honest. I've never been to New Orleans.
Never been. Okay.
So I'm gonna lean on Chuck.
Okay.
and I'm gonna lean on a tour guide. That's what I'm gonna do. But,
gotcha.
But I'm definitely not going to be there and not take in the experience for sure. So I'm gonna definitely allow us to do the job that we need to do to document our experience. But I definitely want to make sure that we are excited about what we're going to be doing and where we're going to be. So
I ask these questions because I live vicariously through you. I don't get to go, so I have to live vicariously through you and Chuck.
Well, I mean, hey, if you want that long title and these bad trips, then but I think it'll be fun, though. I'll have to share my experience with you.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited for you because it seems like the Sun Belt feels like a more fun travel league. It's regional, obviously, but it feels like it's a more fun travel league.
Yeah. It's gonna be some good trips. I think as I've looked at our schedule for football so far, and I think we've got some great road trips coming up in the Sun Belt, and getting to go and play at JMU, which is a storied program that they've joined the Sun Belt with us when we joined, and so I think that's going to be a big game. And we also got some big games at home. Having App State come to the house, and Louisiana coming into the house. So I think it's going to be some great games, and also some great travel places that we'll be able to go to in the Sun Belt for years to come.
Rodney Kasey is my guest, Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. Got a favorite sport? Everybody comes in, they have their sport that they kind of want to pay a little bit more attention to, or at least they want to be involved with a little extra.
Yeah.
Your job is obviously to make sure everybody gets equal love, but is there a particular sport that you gravitate towards a little bit?
So it's weird. I played basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tall and lanky, so I look like a wide receiver.
Okay.
So my favorite sports are baseball, volleyball,
okay,
softball, and then it goes basketball, football. It's really weird. And my wife played tennis, so I have to be a big fan of tennis, or I would be a very single man. So I do love tennis as well. I think I'm just a fan of all sports.
That's a good strategy there. Keep her happy.
Absolutely.
Keep her happy. My guest is Rodney Kasey. He's the Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management at Marshall University. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate you coming in, talking to us a little bit about who you are, what we can expect. You brought Chuck in, so I haven't got to see him since I saw you last, so it's been a while.
Well,
you can bring him in anytime.
Well, thanks for having me. A lot to look forward to. Go Herd.
More coming up. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Final segment of today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for tuning in. We are here until 6 o'clock. We'll take your phone calls and texts now. The phone line is open, 877-420-TALK, 420-8255. The text line is open as well, and that is 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. That's the text line. We do that every day. And, of course, if you listen to the show on demand, that means you're getting it on the podcast. And if that's how you get the show, thank you. Appreciate you doing that. Or if you thought of something after you heard it and you just want to, hey, Paul, you can find me on Twitter at Paul Swann, on Twitter at Paul Swann. And, of course, I see them all. I see everything you say. So looking forward to hearing from you. We got a busy night. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the All-Star game coming up tonight from L.A. Dodgers Stadium. It just feels like baseball. All-Star game, Dodgers Stadium. Just feels like baseball. I mean, I'm not even a Dodgers fan, but I am in the sense that it just feels like baseball. So that's coming up tonight. We've got it for you. We go on the air at 7 o'clock here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Clayton Kershaw, starting pitcher for the National League. Let's get you caught up on some other things that are happening. Yesterday, I didn't get to this, and I need to mention it. Former standout West Virginia high school football player and, of course, a Kennedy Award winner, George Washington's very own Ryan Switzer, announcing he's retiring from the NFL. Drafted by the Dallas Cowboys back in the 2017 draft. He was a fourth rounder, played one season with Dallas and two with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, sad day for Steelers fans, but Ryan Switzer retiring from the National Football League. Also, we keep an eye on college athletics and, of course, SEC media days. Those are fun. We get to hear from all the big names. Nick Saban talked about. Here's a guy talking about on one side how I'm not putting words in his mouth, but how bad the NIL is, and then how good the NIL is. Saban said, "I'm all for the players. I want our players to do well. Our players made over $3 million in name, image, and likeness. I'm all for the players being able to do as well as they can and use their name, image, and likeness to create value for themselves. We have a great brand at Alabama, so players are certainly, their value is going to be enhanced because of the value that our brand can help them create." That's a recruiting pitch if I've never heard one. Like, hey, yeah, our players made $3 million. That's a recruiting pitch right there. Plain and simple. Speaking of recruiting, if you are a Big 12 school or you're a Pac-12 school right now, recruiting is going to be terrible for you because nobody knows what's going on. Is there going to be a merger? Is there going to be an aggressive assault by one on the other? What's going to happen here? Well, we don't know. We do know this, though. Any talks between a partnership between the Big 12 and the Pac-12, those are over. Officials from the Big 12 told Pac-12 officials yesterday that they're no longer interested in exploring the partnership. It didn't work, according to a Big 12 source, for a, quote, multitude of reasons, which included the fact that any potential deal wouldn't have driven much revenue for the league. I mean, that's the big deal here. You got to have something that's going to drive revenue here. I mean, you got Notre Dame going out looking for $75 million. I think that's the number I heard. Try to stay independent, if not going to hop in a conference here. And then, will the SEC – I think the SEC is going to hold. If the Big Ten goes up one, I think the SEC is going to have to go up. But if the SEC holds and the Big Ten holds, then you're going to have to see what happens with the Big 12, the Pac-12. Is there going to be some sort of, okay, let's – try to steal from one to bolster the other? What's going to happen here? Wouldn't it be great if we could just resort? Just resort those conferences? Like, okay, let's just resort you. And try to make it fit geographical. No, what am I talking about? Geography? No, that doesn't work. That does not work in this day and age unless you're in the SEC or the Sun Belt. The geography, because again, Big Ten, Rutgers, Big Ten, Rutgers. What's that about? Because you wanted to be in that market. If you do markets right, you get Rutgers and you're the Big Ten, and it's okay. If you do markets wrong, you're Conference USA. Markets did not work in Conference USA. Markets sort of did in the Big Ten because you went after teams. But then again, who cares about Rutgers? And I'm not saying that derogatory. It's just in the grand scheme of things here. And when I tune in on a Saturday, hey, it's Ohio State Rutgers. Different ring. At least when I say, hey, it's Ohio State Indiana, I get a little bit more of a, oh, okay, that's interesting here. I think the rivalries are what make it. The geography and the rivalries make it for me. Because after all, look, we're going to be talking about, hey, it's UCLA and Nebraska. That might have meant something in the 70s. That might have meant something then in the 70s. Not today. Remember when Oklahoma and Nebraska, that was the big one? That was the game of the century. Remember that? Maybe some of you do. Maybe some of you don't. So that's where we're at right now. I'm fortunate to, I think with a lot of you, I think I'm fortunate to be a fan of a school right now that it seems like it's in the right direction as far as a conference affiliation. I haven't felt that good in a while. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here in the next few weeks. July has been flying by quickly. Have you noticed that? It feels like yesterday was July 4th, and the day before that was May. So we're getting there closer than you think here. So everything's starting to ramp back up, and that means we're getting closer to the start of the NFL season as well. And you know what that means? It's time for more Madden ratings. Now, yesterday we touched on it. I didn't really get a chance to go into too much depth because Jamar Chase was not in the top 10. What's that about? Who's making these ratings for Madden? Okay, today the edge rushers are out for the Madden ratings. And TJ Watt is 96 overall, and he's second. Our producer, Christian Palmer, a devout Pittsburgh Steelers fan, first thing out of his mouth when he came in, hey, Paul, how are you doing? I'm doing great. Did you see the Madden ratings? He was mad. Myles Garrett with a 99 overall. Nick Bosa, third. Von Miller, fourth. Khalil Mack, fifth. I'm just going to leave it there. TJ Watt is number 2. Christian was mad. He was seriously. Does that mean he's not buying the game now? I'm not buying the game. He's buying the game. Linebackers. Nobody was highlighted to make you mad, so Fred Warner overall with a 94. We don't care about. We want running backs and quarterbacks and things. That's what we want. We don't care about linebackers in Madden. I mean, we kind of do. I mean, okay. You need a good line. Don't get me wrong. Just ask the Cincinnati Bengals. You need a good line. So don't think that I'm putting it down a little bit here. Hey, this might be the year. Who's the cover athlete of Madden? Do we have that? Do we know? I'm kind of curious. That's right. They're doing the commemorative to John Madden. That's right. That's a good move. That's a really good move there because without his input, I mean, he was really involved for a long. I mean, he wasn't actually a video game designer, but the whole flavor of Madden, those early years is due in part to Madden. So he's going to be the cover of the Madden series, and that is really fitting there. So, the Bengals should be good. I hope this might be the year I buy Madden. I haven't bought Madden in a while. I mean, the Bengals haven't been good. Now they're good. This might be the year. This might be the year I get Madden, and then I will challenge our producer Christian Palmer to a game of the Bengals versus Steelers, and you know what? We'll stream it on Twitch, and there'll be 4 viewers, probably, because I don't know. I don't know if I can at this point in my life. I don't know if I can start my Twitch career. And if you don't know what Twitch is, my point proven. If you do, we'll see you on Twitch. All right, that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I want to thank my guest, Rodney Kasey. Excited to be working with him. He is officially the Assistant Athletic Director for Digital Strategy and Brand Management. I appreciate Chuck McGill coming in as well. Good good visit with him. I'm grateful for him. And for our producer, Christian Palmer, I'm Paul Swann. This has been The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.